All right.
Yes, sir.
Long awaited.
Yep.
I'm here in studio in Boston with Mr. Jonathan Glass. Why don't you give yourself a quick introduction for the people at home?
Jonathan Glass, CEO of Track and Field Dreams.
Awesome. Well,
Yep.
yeah, so here we are. My name's Tim, if you don't, for the people at home, co-founder and managing partner here at Benmore Technologies. Wanted to set this up today, just a quick conversation with one of our esteemed clients. For those of us, or for those that don't know the firm, we have a very storied background when it comes to athletics. Myself being an individual in basketball player from Boston University, and my co-founder Richard as well, running track and field. He was a triple jumper, so got some synergies here as far as this. So once you said that you're going to be in Boston in March, I took it as an opportunity for us to get together, have a little bit of a conversation about your background, your journey, and of course track and field dreams. So I think to start it off, just give us some background as far as who you are, how you got into athletics, and of course we'll parlay that into talking more so about the application, but just generally speaking, some background. We'll jump out from there.
Yeah, awesome. But yeah, definitely been looking forward to this date, since I knew we were going to be here in Boston. Been in track all my life, been coaching for now over 17 years, from the grassroots level of club track, as well as being at a high school, Elizabeth Seton High School now for over 8 years. Sports has just been my background, between football and track and fields has always been my passion, is where, I feel like kind of where I learned life's lessons through sport, right? Dedication, being there as a great teammate for your team members, and just being able to be held accountable, right? That being held accountable part is huge in life, and it just allows you to grow in other areas and other aspects. So track and field has been huge in my life, where my mentors are in the sport, and it kind of just taught me how to give back, right? Things to do to really go back into the community and give back. And ever since I've been out of college, I've been coaching, coaching in the community and just trying to do my part in giving back.
Yeah, I think track, athletics at large, right? It's one of those unique spaces where you can, of course, build very specific skills, right? But the skill set and the discipline that you garner in that pursuit obviously follows you the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And so it's glad to see that you kind of have both that experience, and you're not only able to use that to give back to the community as a coach, but also now with Track and Field Dreams. So I guess talk to us now about how you had the idea to start with, right? What are some of the problems that you saw? And I think going back to one of our very first conversations when we first got connected, one of the things that stood out to me was that you weren't a hammer in search of a nail, right? You kind of saw a problem and then you thought about, what the solution would be. So talk to us about kind of that inspiration and what that, turned into as well.
Yeah, so I'm a dad of 2 girls, right? And both girls run track. I actually have one daughter now who's at Morgan State University, and she runs track for them. And when she was going through her recruiting process, she only had like 2 or 3 offers. And I felt like the times that she was running, she should have had more offers throughout the country, right? I believe that no athlete should have anything less than 20 offers, considering there's over 1,000 schools in this country that give out scholarship offers between D3, D2, NAIA, and D1. And so I already knew what was out there, just being in sports in general all my life. And so just sitting back and thinking about it, the one unique thing about track and field is completely different than everything else, is that it's about numbers.
Yeah.
It's not about height. It's not about different metrics that they use to kind of evaluate football and basketball players, right? With track, if you're over in England and you're running a certain time that meets the conference standards, nothing else really matters, right? They'll do their social background checks on you after that point, but it was based on numbers. So I just thought about, okay, so how can I make this a technology-based recruiting platform that's strictly for track and field athletes? And that's what's out there right now, which is search portals, right?
Well, talk to us about the difference, because I know, like I said, I didn't run track at all, but I have
Right.
individuals that I'm close to that have gone through that similar process. Even internally in our company, I said, like Richard, my co-founder, he didn't have a ton of offers. One of our other developers, Jacob, he was, I forget exactly what event he was as well. Very highly touted. He had great numbers, but didn't get a ton of offers as well. So talk to us about like what the specific infrastructure looks like currently for platforms that help with recruiting and searching.
Oh, wow. What's out there currently right now, and again, like I said, it's just a search portal, right? So parents would join these different type of platforms that are currently out there right now. And essentially, they're joining to go in and search for information. Right? They're going in to search for what are the standards at a college, right? Or the coach's email address or phone number, and vice versa. They're putting their athletes within a database that just sits there. There's no movement. It just sits there until somebody actually finds them.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's been the service sector in the track and field industry as far as recruiting for years. And I figured out how to do it more efficient and more effective for both the athlete and the college recruiter, which is to have the technology on the back end actually do the work for the athlete once they enter their metrics and push their profiles to the college coaches where they will qualify within the top 24 of that conference. So any conference in the country where that athlete will actually qualify, whether it's distance, whether it's time, height, or distance, that coach will automatically receive that athlete's profile. So it's the technology that's missing, all right? And that's what we put together, with the help of you all and linking with you guys. When our first conversation, the hard part for me was finding a company that understood track and field, right? So we had one company, and they sent back a proposal, and in the proposal, they had football and basketball in the proposal. And I said, well, there was no conversation about football or basketball, so why do we have this in the proposal?
Yeah.
But you instantly understood what we were trying to achieve. Coming from the track world, people on your staff and your team coming from the track world, I instantly knew that this would be a great fit for us. And for me, that was what was key. Does this company truly understand what we're trying to develop? And it's been smooth sailing ever since then.
I'm very glad to hear that. I mean, that's one of the things where, we don't pretend to be experts in everything, right? And a lot of what you're talking about was really just driven by yourself, right? Like I said, I mean, with our discovery process where we sit down and really figure out before the development, right? What are the requirements, what's possible, what's feasible, and really have that conversation between value versus effort, right? Where how can we really decrease the risk going to market by figuring out what is that, really most asymmetric subset of scope to launch with first, whether that means, just doing, this subset of features first and then adding on later on.
Right.
I think obviously utilizing you and Freddie, who couldn't join us today as well, as experts, right? And then having our team, today our architects at different points as well, to really come in as that backstop from a technical feasibility standpoint, but also just a product strategy standpoint as well. I think that's something that's lost a lot when people come in who aren't technical and haven't developed software before. There's a preconceived notion that it's really all coding, but it's not, right? It's just product strategy. It's how do we deliver this? How do we set ourselves up for success, but also decreasing that risk for failure? And a lot of that comes down to just how willing and open you guys are to have conversations, right? Talk to us about kind of, what that procedure was like getting started, that kind of initial digestive information, that back and forth conversation. How is that as well?
Oh man, that was an eye opener. Myself as well as, Fred, who's the VP of the company. The beauty about working with you guys is that we were forced to put things on put information out on paper, right? Because of the questions that you guys were asking us. It really allowed us to be as detailed as possible so that you all had the best picture possible on what we actually wanted. It's one thing for me to just sit and try and write down on paper what I want to achieve and what I want to accomplish, right? But it's different when now the tech team is asking questions from a technical component and a build component so that the two match, right? And so for us, that was huge because it really allowed us to build documents on top of documents on top of documents to allow you guys to really see the whole in-depth process of how we want the platform to work and how we want it to be as user-friendly as possible. Easy for the athletes to just get in, upload their stats, and that's it. It's not a lot of time on their end. It's not a lot of time on the coach end. So the process of starting out with you guys was eye-opener for me. I've owned several different companies, but nothing to this magnitude technically, right? To where it was, okay, so now you got to go out and find somebody that can help you build this because you don't know how to build an app, right? So who's the best team that can do it? And I think I shared it with you. Man, it took me almost a year and a half, right?
From when you started searching to...
When I started searching, I'm going through companies and going through companies and going through companies. And then when we got to you, I already had 3 companies sitting that I was trying to decide on which one I was going to go with. But when we got to your company, it was night and day. The difference between you guys and them, what you were offering technically, communication-wise, the communication platforms, you guys are open and showing everything that's going on throughout the process and step by step. Nobody offered that to us, so I thought that was huge. And having, access and insight to where you guys were and what was the next step and how those two were going to tie into together to reach what we were trying to do.
Yeah, and I think that's really special that you mentioned that because there's a big distinction between types of firms, and it's hard to understand that if you're not someone that comes from a product or technology background.
Yeah.
Where like what you're describing previously is more of a traditional just engineer development firm where you essentially bring all of the requirements, you write it out, okay, I want to build X, Y, Z. They just take that and they're more like a yes man, right? Like we're gonna do this for you. I don't care if it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
If you tell them to build a house and you don't specify that you need windows, we're not gonna build any windows, right?
Yeah.
Whereas where we like to come in is, of course, like I said, we're not gonna pretend to be experts in every industry, but we've built products before, right? And we have, tribal knowledge of dozens of industries that we've worked with to be able to first have that process is ask the right questions, right? Especially when we're going 0 to 1, like these tiny minutiae that you obviously take for granted being in this space where someone who's coming from a technology background needs to understand before they get starting writing code is super important. Otherwise, what happens if you start, 3-6 months down the road and then, it becomes this whole thing where like you thought you were going to get X, we're showing you Y, we thought you wanted Y. We never had that conversation. Right. And so I think that's really special, like you mentioned that. What were some things that, going through that initial discovery process, having that back and forth, some features, let's hone in on those that you thought were really important to have originally, but through that maybe kind of backtracked and said, hey, let's kind of hold off on this until we get some more traction, some more feedback. Like what was that process like as far as some specific features as well?
It was good. And the reason why it was good because, again, one of the things you just mentioned, we didn't hire yes men, right? To where myself or Freddie would say, hey, we want it done this way or we want to do it this way. The relationship that we had with you guys was that you all would let us know, hey, we hear what you're trying to accomplish. This is the best way of doing it, X, Y, and Z, right? For not just the now, but for the future. Not just for developing this, but also making sure it's not going to break on the back end. It's easier to change on the back end. So a lot of those things, we were extremely excited about because, again, other companies that I was having conversations with, I never got that pushback, right? It was, this is what I want, this is what I want, boom. Okay, but we can do that. We can build this. With you guys, it was this is what I want, this is what I want. Okay, here are your options, right? Here are your options. Here's A, here's B, and here's C. You tell us which one you want to do, and then I'll tell you which one we believe is the best one for the product that you're actually trying to build. So that was key for us in this relationship, and that feeling like we were working with yes men, but we were working with people that felt like they had some skin in the game, and they really cared about the product that they were developing, right? Not to just make sure that we were happy, but to make sure that we were satisfied in the way that everything worked for our customer, right? I'm your customer, but behind me is my customer.
Of course.
And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work for my customer, then the whole chain is not going to work, right? So that, that in itself in the beginning, we was pretty excited about. As again, we felt like we had a partner in this, and not somebody that was just a yes man because we were paying them, but we truly had a partner on board.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important distinction to point out, is because obviously we could sit here and say yes to everything, but like you're saying, you're really not the end user, right? And so our whole goal is, how can we put ourselves collectively, right? Like I said, we're not experts as far as how much you know in your industry, in your space,
right?
But at least asking those tough questions so that we're thinking about, like you said, not just the here and now, but 3-6 months down the road. And sometimes, the majority of the time, what that means is like, let's pump the brakes a little bit, right? We don't have this data quite yet. We don't know if users are going to need this feature. We don't know if this whole build out is even going to be worth it. So let's just start small, have something manageable, take this to market, and then we get feedback, and we can always add on to that later on, right? And I think before we even started rolling, we had a conversation similar to that, where you had this kind of. Why don't you walk us through it? You thought that having all the onboarding for the high school, walk us through that as well.
So it was a feature that we added that was really for the satisfaction of the college coaches, right? So we added a feature where the high school coaches were actually involved in validating a high school athlete. So in the process of the athlete registering, they will put in their coach's information, coach's email, and then the coach will have an alert that alerts them that, hey, this individual claiming they're an athlete on your team. You click this button. They would then set up a profile on their own to have their own dashboard, and then they could validate the athlete. Well, it was too encumbersome for the athletes. Not knowing which email address to use for the high school coach. The high school coach can't get into his email account because he forgot the password, or he or she doesn't have an actual high school email address.
Like a domain that...
Exactly, and the domain. So we had that as one of our trigger points to where if the domain wasn't at a high school, then it would just reject it altogether. So, and just doing some outreach during the beta stage and the beta process, we felt like that was a step that we needed to kind of remove for the athlete's point of view, because we also already have a parent's shadow account. So the parents automatically get a shadow account on top of the athlete's account, so they can see everything that's going on the athlete's dashboard. And when NCAA rules allow, whenever that communication process begins, that the parents can see it as well. So every time there's a communication, the parent will get an alert. So that was one of the things. In the beginning, I know you were talking about, because remember we were doing it in phases, right? Phase 1, phase 2. And one of the things that we wanted to make sure in the beginning, we wasn't bundling everything at one time, right? And that actually came out of conversation with you guys. And it made sense to say, hey, let's create the core purpose and functions of the platform first. Then we can come back and add any other things, right? Because the second phase of the service that we're actually launching is we're giving them their own social community, right? So they'll have their own, essentially, Instagram or Facebook page where the athletes can go in and chat with athletes all across the country about track and field or whatever, anything that's going on, right? Like we have New Balance this weekend. So it'll be athletes in the chat talking to athletes that are currently right now in Nike Nationals. So we want to give them their own community and their own space that's not shared with basketball, that's not shared with football. Because the majority of the top recruiting platforms out there are football and basketball. And then, hey, let's sprinkle in track and field.
As an afterthought.
As an afterthought, right? And so I wanted to make sure that everything on this platform was strictly for track and field athletes, to give them exposure, to give them brand awareness. And so that phase 2 is the social community that we're going to develop for them.
But I think one of the kind of turning points from that approach was, I think, a conversation that we had as far as the biggest asset of the platform is the people on it.
Exactly.
Right. So don't put the chicken before the egg or the cart before the horse here, right? We want to make sure that we have a product that we can offer to the high schoolers, to the colleges, so that we have both sides of the market on the platform. Then afterwards, if you launch this, it's just going to be a no-brainer for people to use it because they're already there. They're already getting value from the platform. They already know, trust, love the brand, and this is just an added benefit to it, right? So kind of having it phased out like that, I think, was a very smart approach. And just going to be a matter of time before you have that kind of snowball effect to be able to add on to that. One other thing that I wanted to highlight was just like that process of that beta period. I think what I was mentioning to you before, especially like a platform like this, where a lot of times we speak to founders that are very gung-ho about going 0 to 100 from a marketing standpoint. As soon as they have something out there, I think you have a very like innate knowledge of this, where like you want to make sure that it's got to be correct and kind of have that product market fit before you go, balls to the wall, so to speak. So what was that process like as far as outreaching, having conversations, learning more about specific pain points afterwards? What was that like?
So it's both sides of the coin, right? Because as the owner, one side of you wants to hurry up and rush it and get it out there, right? Because I know that this is what they need, and I know they're going to gravitate to it. And then the other side is be patient. Because you needed to serve the purpose that you needed to serve the purpose, right? And so, we went through the beta phase and going through the beta phase and getting out, having conversations with athletes, having conversations with coaches. We were able to find out some other things to kind of fine tune on the platform to really have it ready for the initial launch of the product. Again, that was huge for us. And just being patient. But one of the things that helped us to be patient was our Monday meetings. Right? Every Monday we got a meeting like clockwork. And we were so comfortable. It's different, right? But we were so comfortable in who we were dealing with that we throw all of these things out on the table. Hey, we need this, we need that, we need this, blah, blah, blah. And Fred would be like, maybe you gave him too much. Like, nope. Let's just sit back. Let's just relax. We know they're gonna take care of it, and just having that calm of knowing that again the team that you're working with is hitting all of the benchmarks. It's making sure everything is done properly as it should be. And then when we got to that next meeting on that Monday, if it wasn't done, it was an explanation and reason as to why. This step here needs to be done. We're going to make sure we clean up all the areas in here, X, Y, and Z, all the way down the road. So when we got to getting, releasing and launching the beta phase, we knew that, okay, now it's our turn to get out here and kind of talk to the community, talk to the potential users, get some feedback from them. And for the most part, the excitement is there, because when you explain to them, just a small piece of, hey, all you have to do is upload your stats and our technology on the back end will push that to every coach you qualify in the top 24 in any conference in the country.
It's beautifully simple.
It's beautifully simple. So nobody's ever had a service that provided that type of exposure for them. We have, a college can have 60 kids right in their state that qualify for their conference, and they're not even aware of these kids, and they're right in the state.
It's just like a manpower. They don't have enough manpower to just
exactly. It's a resource thing, right? So what we're doing is we're closing the gap on those resources for them, particularly for the NAI schools, the Division II schools, and the Division III schools, right? Of course, we know the Power 4 schools in the Division I. They have the resources. They can find any kid in the country they want.
Find someone out of the country. So they find on Mars if they jump by them.
They have the resources to do that. But for the other schools that don't, this is the perfect tool for them. Because again, all they have to do is register and sit back. And they'll get alerts when athletes drop in the top 24 of their conference in any event. They don't have to do any work outside of that. They just register. They'll get the alerts. They can put them on their recruiting board. They can rate them platinum, silver, gold. They can line them up by classification, which year they're going to graduate. They can line them up by event. So they have all the tools they need on their dashboard to lay out their recruiting process for the upcoming year and the year after that.
Yeah, like I said, beautifully simple. It's really streamlined. I was looking at surprised, but again, at the end of the day, right? It's a resource allocation thing, right? These institutions that aren't Power Four, or these Division One colleges, they just don't have enough to be able to find these people in all the different nooks and crannies of where they're jumping and running at. So it's really really powerful as far as a technology solution to be able to fill that gap.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of segueing here. As we round up, what are some of the things that you're excited about going forward? Right now, we had this kind of phase one MVP that's been released. What are some of the things that are on the agenda? Talking to investors, potentially getting out this phase two. Like, what are some of the things you're looking forward to as we grow?
Man, to be honest, man, I'm just excited about these athletes having the opportunity to get a scholarship, to do what they love to do on the next level. Because at the end of the day, that was the main focus for this, was to give them the exposure so that, and the resources and the tools so that they have an opportunity to get scholarships, to go anywhere in the country and continue to do what they love to do, right? So I have some of my young ladies here with me today from Elizabeth Seton, and they're one of the reasons why I developed this, because they work so hard, and then they only have the exposure of the normal schools that are in the community that always know Seton has this type of level of talent. But what about the other schools that aren't aware, right? Again, it's over 1,000 schools in the country that give out scholarships. Last year was 1.5 million high school athletes. 1.5 million. And every last one of them should have had at least 20 offers. Again, when you're talking about D3, D2, JUCO, NAIA, and Division I, you should be able to get 20 offers between those schools. So for me, the excitement for me is that part, and closing that gap for the colleges that don't have the resources, but are actively spending money and have money to give to athletes to come to this school.
No, it's exciting. Like I said, coming from athletics background, like you said, there's so much talent out there that is just genuinely overlooked. And being able to bridge that gap is obviously from an economic and a business standpoint valuable, but also just from an outcome standpoint. You change one person's life. I'm a perfect example. I played high school ball, but I wasn't anything crazy, but I ended up, playing in college, and that just the connections that I met and the people that it actually changed my life forever, right? So it's a beautiful experience that I think more people should be able to have the privilege to experience. And so this bridging that gap could really change a lot of outcomes for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, I went on a full scholarship to Eastern Kentucky University, right, in track and field. And without that, I wouldn't be the person that I am today, right? That gave me an opportunity to see another part of the country. It gave me an opportunity to grow up in a different space other than what I was used to back in Washington, D.C. And if I didn't have the necessarily exposure, my mentors, who were my coaches at the time, they did my scholarship. They did the outreach, right? Because the relationships that they had. And that's how I got my scholarship. If it wasn't for them, who would have found me?
Yeah, who knows, right?
Who would have found me?
Well, now we got track and field dreams to be able to do it for the athletes. So we're excited about that. Well, rounding up here, I guess, give us a kind of a quick synopsis review. Would you recommend Benmore Technologies to other prospective founders that are looking to build their softwares here as well?
Yeah, I would say for entrepreneurs out there such as myself that have a great idea, that have a great product, and you're not quite sure how to make that product come to fruition. I mean, these guys are the best in the business, and I'm not just saying that because I'm actively working with them now. Again, it took me a year and a half to find these guys after going through companies that I felt like they just wanted to check. They just wanted to check, and it wasn't about building that relationship to understand who you are as a person, what you're actually trying to accomplish. And these guys knew it, right? They got it on the money in the beginning. Our conversations in the beginning were great. There was no pressure from these guys to merge and to do business together. It was just a conversation as in, Jonathan, what do you need? What are you trying to develop? And let's see if we can help you, right? Let's see if we can help you. Not we're the best in the business so we can do this. So, for me, it wasn't a nervous step or it wasn't a nervous jump because I've been an entrepreneur for, pretty much all my life. But for the people are out there who are watching this video, and if you're just unsure, contact these guys. It could be a game changer for your product. It could be a game changer for your business. And they'll definitely broaden your horizon in your mind as to what your product can actually become. Because we have services and we have steps and processes embedded within our technology that we would have never thought about and we would have never come up with. But if it wasn't for these guys and their expertise, his strong team behind them and their knowledge, Track and Field Dreams wouldn't be what it is today. And without a shadow of a doubt, I know my product is going to be successful because of how it was built on the back end by these guys. And I'm very confident in knowing we are still in communication 24/7. We can pick up the phone and say, hey, we need to do such and such and such and such. And these guys will respond instantly. There's never a gap in between time of getting a response from anyone. I mean, their response time is 45 minutes at worst. You know, when we need something or we're trying to get some type of communication. But yeah, I'm totally excited about the choice that me and Fred made to select you guys to build this product, and haven't had second thoughts about it since. I know at one time there was a conversation of building a third phase or something, and somebody on the feed of our weekly call said, well, you know, we can help you guys if you need to find someone. Find somebody. Me and Fred was like, no, we don't need to find anybody. It's you guys. We're good. We don't need to find anybody. It's you guys. So, you know, I just want to thank you, man, from the bottom of my heart. You guys have really helped me and Fred see our vision come to fruition, man. And we're just truly excited about it. And we know that once it gets into the hands of these athletes, they're going to be excited as well.
It really brings a smile to my face, as we can see here. Like I said, I'm just someone who's very passionate about the intersection between real world problems and technology. And so I'm really glad to hear that. As we round up, where can people find you? Where can people kind of get in contact with you? We have a ton of people, I think about 5,000 or so on our email list. We're going to put this out to investors, athletes, different people across different walks of life. So how can people get in contact with you best?
Awesome. Well, the website is tfdreams.com. That's the website. You can email me at dream@tfdreams.com. Phone number 410-610-5119. Interested in collaborating with anyone out there, especially collaborating with companies that have products that are in the sports field, that are in the sports industry, that are trying to market it to not just high school but collegiate athletes as well, because we will have collegiate athletes on our platform. We're on Facebook. We have our Facebook page, Instagram. Fred's going to kill me because I can't remember the Facebook and Instagram.
We'll link it below. So
we'll link it below, but we're on there as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yes, well, I appreciate it, man. Like I said, it's been a long time coming. We've been all this back and forth on Zoom, which is great, but having some in-person conversations, especially in this day and age, is a good thing. So thank you for coming out, and I appreciate it, and we'll get everything over to you very soon. Looking forward to the future of Track and Field Dreams.
I am as well. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.